Springfield Talk 1041. I am Nick Reed. Welcome to the show. Wednesday, halfway through the week, couple days away from the Friday Road Show at Scramblers, sponsored by Custom Shade Window Tinting, which is powered by 3M Window Film. And then we will be having our happy hour, Retro Metro. That'll be 4 to 6 Friday. It'll be the last happy hour before the primary election. So for those of you that may be wondering about certain races or want to get thoughts, I know that it is useless to watch campaign ads on television. You're not going to glean anything from that in any sort of meaningful way. So you oftentimes seek out people that you trust, people that you recognize are intellectually curious, and it's a great place to do that. Of course, Scramblers, there are quite a few folks there every Friday morning. They occupy one of the corners at the restaurant, and that is a great resource for you. But given the happy hour that we will be having Friday 4 to 6, that'll be a great place for you as well. If you want to get any sort of information, have questions about any of the candidates, and not that it's the end-all, be-all, but those conversations amongst KSGF listeners, you're going to be dealing, obviously, with people that are more informed as to what's going on than the average person who makes their decisions based off of TV ads that they see. Wilder RV for all of your RV needs, just 85 miles north on 13, Clinton, Missouri. You cannot miss it. People travel from all over the country because of this level of service, because of the array of product lines that they have. If you've never thought about RVing because you thought it was out of your price range, you could check out their website, Wilder RV, and see financing options, including a family RV for $165 a month. That's the price of a hotel room for one night. So it is definitely much more affordable than many people think. Of course, they have a huge variety of options for you, and they're not high pressure. They don't follow you around. All the RVs are locked. If you want to see one, you got to get somebody to let you in, and they're hovering over you the whole time, or they're standing outside waiting for you. What'd you think? Do you like it? Oh, I could really see you and your family in this thing. Oh, yes, sir. You don't have to deal with any of that. Wilder RV, you can find them again, wilderrv.com and at ksgf.com under Nick's endorsements. I wanted to share a piece that I pulled days ago from Mark Hemingway. Media won't tell you corruption defined Kamala Harris's affair. And just had not had an opportunity to get to it yet. And every day it was in my pile, if you will, of information, because it's got insight that even those of you who follow these things and do your research may not be fully aware of. And it gives you a better sense of the picture of how and why Kamala Harris got her start. More than simply just the side piece of an elderly mayor, San Francisco Willie Brown. And so I was like, if I don't make this first thing out of the gate, then I risk it getting bumped once again. So that being said, here's the piece from Mark Hemingway, The Federalist. Kamala Harris hasn't been the presumptive Democrat nominee for even a week. Of course, at this point, it's been just a bit over a week. And already the press is desperately trying to insist perfectly valid criticisms of her are illegitimate. If you think the media were complicit in attempting and failing to hide Joe Biden's senility, the attempt to retcon her political career into something that resembles respectable and competent is even more brazen. And this is a good point. Remember, the same people who are telling America, who are defining Kamala Harris, are the same people who defined Joe Biden for the past 2 years as perfectly, not just senile, but the smartest guy in the room. Some of what the media has already been spreading as disinformation, quote, she was never the border czar. She was never considered the most liberal senator. She was never a DEI hire. She doesn't owe her political career to her powerful boyfriend. Oh, but she was, and she does. The dishonesty surrounding all of these issues is worth highlighting, but let's focus on that last point involving Harris's relationship with California's powerful political boss, Willie Brown, for no other reason than the New York Times has provided a terrific example of how the lies are coming in hot. The Times on Politics newsletter last Wednesday, think of it as a political talking point for affluent wine moms, a.k.a. the Democrats' base, was dedicated to combating, quote, the sexist and racist rumors that have followed Harris for years, with the facts behind several conspiracy theories and misleading claims about Harris that have spread wildly in recent days. In other words, anything that might make her look bad. Nearly the whole thing is an orgiastic recitation of errant nonsense, starting with the fact that the Times is quoting disgraced disinformation expert Nina Jankowicz to make the case that Harris is the victim of a disproportionate amount of online attacks. Harris's competitor in the presidential race, of course, was shot in the head less than 2 weeks ago, and unsurprisingly, there's been a dearth of media hand-wringing about the rhetorical climate that may have enabled an actual assassination attempt. That's because an honest discussion about hateful rhetoric would involve asking basic questions, such as why did the New York Times win a Pulitzer for stories based on the false premise that Donald Trump stole an election by treasonously colluding with Russia? But that aside, the real lowlight of the Times article is the discussion of Kamala Harris's relationship with Willie Brown. One of my favorite things that fact checkers do is introduce a position as false and then try to confirm that falsity by desperately spinning a bunch of inconvenient facts that confirm the proposition is actually true. The entire section on Harris and Willie Brown is a textbook example. They write, the sexist insinuations point in part to her brief relationship in the 90s with Willie Brown, who was 60 and the Speaker of the California Assembly when Harris was 29 and rising in the Bay Area legal scene. He appointed Harris to 2 well-paid state board positions and introduced her to his political connections. When she was campaigning to be San Francisco's district attorney in 2003, her opponents repeatedly commented on her link to Brown, references that she told the New York Times in 2019 were frustrating and designed to degrade, frankly, the conversation about why we needed a new DA. During the 2003 race, which she won, she told the San Francisco Weekly that there was nothing improper about benefiting from her ties to Brown, although she described the relationship as an albatross hanging around her neck. She said she brought a level of life knowledge and common sense to the board roles, adding that whether you agree or disagree with the system, I did the work. She said that she had no doubt that she was independent of Willie Brown and that, quote, I do not owe him a thing. Just so we're clear, the New York Times is confirming Harris did in fact have a relationship with Willie Brown, who was 31 years older and, for what it's worth, still married at the time. Harris herself admits her career benefited significantly from that relationship. Other Democrats shared the perception that she did not earn her position. Well, not legitimately. And Harris, a lawyer who initially failed the bar exam, can only say that she, quote, brought a level of life knowledge and common sense rather than actual qualifications to the jobs that Brown appointed her to. But, of course, it's a sexist insinuation to insist these facts are rather unflattering to Kamala. And this is just what the New York Times is admitting. In actuality, the details are far worse than the Times is letting on. Now, we need to get a weather and news update, and then this is where we'll get into the further depth of this, because most people who are aware that she got her political start by being the side piece of Willie Brown, who I thought was mayor of San Francisco at the time, but this list, at the time he was paying her back, if you will, for her favors, he was Speaker of the House in California. But it goes deeper than that, because there is a political vengeance component to this that is much darker than just getting your side piece, cushy jobs and getting their start in politics, as Willie Brown did for Kamala Harris. Now, again, remember, this all isn't stuff that Republicans have just dug deep and found are conspiracy theories. This has been known in Democrat this is stuff that other Democrats have complained about, and when it came to campaign season, they are the ones who have brought all of this up in the past. Weather in a moment. More on this. Now the latest news.
And the first alert forecast from Colorton Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. Once again, a heat advisory remains in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today, it's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 97, heat index values near 109. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, sunny with a high near 97, heat index values reaching close to 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92. Comedian Nikki Glaser going to be at 180K Friday, August 16th, Alive and Unwell tour. Your chance to win tickets at ksgf.com. Reading to you a piece it's from last week. Media won't tell you corruption defined Kamala Harris affair, and most of you are aware. I assume. Maybe I should not assume. I know some of you are aware that Kamala got her start in politics by being the side piece of
then House Speaker Willie Brown in California. And this isn't anything, I mean, he's admitted this in the past, that while he was married, he was using her for a little, afternoon delight. And then in return, he introduced her into politics, got her on some, put her on some boards. And this isn't anything that is new information. As she ran for office in California, other Democrats quite often brought this up. But as the Federalist points out, if this is talked about, it will be dismissed as just some sort of tawdry affair between consenting adults, which, by the way, is the same thing that, according to Stormy Daniels, she had with Donald Trump. But, of course, they're still sentencing to put him in prison for that. So, yet again, we see a situation in which you have consensual relationships or accusations of consensual relationships between consenting adults. If it is a Republican, put them in prison. If it is a Democrat, make her president of the United States. The piece in the Federalist notes, though, it was much more than Kamala Harris just getting rewarded for being the side piece of Willie Brown. It goes deeper than that. They note that the New York Times confirms all of this. They wrote a piece recently about this. They don't deny any of this. And this is just what the New York Times is admitting. In actuality, they write, the details are far worse than the Times is letting on. Peter Schweitzer, an investigative journalist who has worked with the New York Times in the past, details quite a bit of the corrupt nature of the Harris-Brown relationship in his book, Profiles in Corruption, which has been out for 4.5 years. And the facts, as he lays them out, are damning. Brown, who was repeatedly investigated by the FBI for corruption, was far more involved in Harris's career ascent than simply appointing her to 2 board positions. He, at the time, was a kingmaker in California, and he was heavily involved in helping Harris get elected as San Francisco District Attorney. Brown didn't do this entirely out of the goodness of his heart. Harris was working for the previous district attorney, Terrence Hallinan, and quit when she got passed over for the number 2 position in the DA's office. So here, she's working in the DA's office. She wants a promotion. She gets passed over while she's providing entertainment to Willie Brown, who is the kingmaker in California. So she's mad. I didn't get the job I wanted. Hallinan, who passed Kamala over for the job, can't imagine why, she's just so qualified, found himself as the subject of criticism from other city officials, but others suggested the controversy was manufactured. Quote, this whole thing is about Kamala Harris, one source close to Brown told the San Francisco Chronicle at the time. Quote, cross one of Willie's friends and there will be hell to pay. Eventually, Harris ran for DA with Brown's powerful backing. A former Brown aide managed her campaign, and Brown played a key role in her fundraising, which was incredibly successful. After starting the race, polling a distant 3rd, she ended up winning the election. So you get the picture here. She's the side piece of Willie Brown. She gets passed over for a promotion. So Willie Brown is, you know how it is oftentimes with these rich, powerful guys. They got the side pieces, and then they're, oh, you didn't get that job? Don't you worry, I'll take care of you, sweetheart. And he did just that. Once in office, Harris then dropped or pled out corruption charges against friends of her boyfriend, Willie Brown, that Hallinan had been pushing. There were a number of Brown's friends let off the hook by Kamala. But most notably, this included a sweetheart plea deal for a notorious city contractor caught defrauding the city by using inferior recycled concrete in sensitive projects such as parking garages and the Bay Bridge. This compromised the structural integrity of these projects and endangered lives, but Harris dropped all of the fraud charges and accepted a guilty plea on a single count involving an environmental violation. The Chronicle reported at the time Harris's office had no explanation for why she dropped the concrete case. A better explanation is that the contractor in question was generous with campaign donations and had previously been popped for making an illegal $2,000 donation to guess who? Kamala's boyfriend who got her the position, Willie Brown. Anyway, there's a lot more alarming reporting in Schweitzer's book that's worth revisiting, and it's not a stretch to say Kamala Harris has engaged in outright corruption in her career. Suffice to say, when the New York Times takes Kamala Harris at her word that her relationship with Willie Brown was not improper, they're erasing the functional difference between lying and profound ignorance. And when she's credulously quoted saying, quote, "I do not owe him a thing, it's journalistic malpractice to believe her." To say that Kamala Harris had an affair with a man more than twice her age, leveraged his fundraising prowess and connections to launch her political career, and once in office did his corrupt bidding isn't sexist. It's well-grounded in fact. But facts aren't something the New York Times is much interested in. Kamala Harris's late entry into the presidential race means they don't have much time to use what's left of their institutional clout to try to dishonestly sway a presidential race. Mark Hemingway. Now, the book that's referenced, and we've had Schweitzer on, I think, twice as author of the week. The book that this was 4.5 years ago that this book was published. So this was well before Kamala. 4.5 years ago, at that point, she would have, I believe, in a humiliating fashion, she would have already dropped out before any of the actual races took place. During the Democrat primary, she was vying for president the first time. But the book, Profiles in Corruption, if you haven't read it yet, it's very, very insightful. ABC Books in North Glenstone, of course, the go-to place for all of your books, and our author of the week. Going to take a break. More on this coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. We got a happy hour coming up. It is going to be where it always is, Retro Metro. 4 to 6 this Friday. Looking forward to it. Great opportunity for you to come out and join us. And if you want to have any conversations, talks about the upcoming primary, as I know many of you do have questions. In fact, let me address this on the Pyramid Roofing Company. Talk and text line. How do you select the correct sample ballot? I thought it was by precinct, but mine shows up in 3 different ballots. Now, this is the way, and actually Sarah probably can do a better job because she's the one who puts all this stuff together. It's by county, and so what that means is when you click on your county, whatever is going to be on your ballot will be on that county sample ballot. but everything that's on the county sample ballot may not necessarily be on your ballot. Will you explain why that is?
Because of different locations.
Well, and yeah, and it's just not really feasible to create sample ballots for every district
For every single little precinct. So yeah, it's just
because
kind of
there's crap tons
compiled.
of them. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yes.
just if there was some sort of AI that did it, we'd be, it'd be a different situation. But it isn't that way. So what occurs is, Sarah reaches out to the county clerks and they provide this info. Here's what's going to be
Yeah,
on.
they create what do they call it? Basically compiled ballot
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. And so that's what that is. That is what comes from the county clerks, and that is everything that will be on ballots within the county. So yes, you will, if you are, for example, Republic. Well, you could either end up pulling a Christian county or a Green County ballot, and there could very well be things on that ballot that you're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't for. I'm not going to be voting on this, but somebody in Green County will. If it is on your ballot, it will be on that sample ballot. So I hope that makes sense. If anything, if you go through and you research absolutely everything, you may find yourself overinformed, but you will not be underinformed. So that's why it is that those ballots are that way. But these are great questions, and you know what? Print them off, bring them to happy hour on Friday. And like I said, I don't. Who knows? Maybe I would encourage any candidates that are on the ballot to come out to happy hour and join us 4 to 6, go around, talk with our listeners. Some of you I know naturally oftentimes do that anyhow, but if you don't have, many of you are going to have that calendar booked. I mean, we're talking about the final days of the campaign. But should you not, even if you have an hour, I definitely recommend that you do stop by. It's 4 to 6. It is, if you've not been to one of these, come and go as you please. So usually, 4 o'clock, there's, a handful of people. But as the happy hour times 2, it's 4 to 6, progresses, it does become a little busier, and so you may want to keep that in mind. But yeah, we'd love to have you out. Don't think, well, I don't know, are candidates welcome? Absolutely, absolutely they are, because our listeners want to know. We constantly, as much information as we attempt to provide here, so many of you are still like, we want more information. There's still a need to get more information. I'm seeing this ad, it says this. What does that mean? Is it true? If it's not true, what are they cherry picking that from? And it's a great place to kind of sort a lot of that out. And even if it's not a discussion with candidates, there are a lot of people out there just like you that are in some degree involved, and they may just have additional insight that you don't have, and you may have some that they don't have. And it's just a way to get together and have some drinks, have some food at the same time. But the timing of it works out well, given that the election will be just around the corner for the primary. And happy hour again this Friday, 4 to 6 at Retro Metro.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. Once again, we're under a heat advisory that will remain in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today it's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 97. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, once again, sunny and hot, high near 97. Heat index values reaching close to 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92.
KSGF.com. Excuse me. Get yourself registered to see Nikki Glazer live. Juanita K. Hall. She's a comedian. She's for some people, she might be a little too crass. If you aren't familiar with her, you're like, oh, just looking to go see a good show. You may want to check out some of her material if you like to keep things G or PG rated. May not necessarily be for you, but she's extremely popular. She's actually from, she lives in St. Louis. And it is the Alive and Unwell tour, again, August 16th, which is a Friday, and you can register to win a pair of tickets, your chance to win a pair of tickets at KSGF.com. I shared with you this piece, and we'll have it posted at KSGF.com. Must-read headlines. Media won't tell you corruption defined Kamala Harris's affair. And when it is the subject matter discussed, it's generally in the context of, well, Kamala was Willie Brown's side piece. He was a powerful guy. He was the kingmaker in California at the time, and so he got his side piece a gig, put her on some paid boards, and introduced her to these different people in the world of politics to get her start. And what they noticed is that it's much deeper than that. It's much more than that. At the time, she worked in the DA's office as a lower-level individual, and that DA was going after some of Willie Brown's friends for corruption. There were active cases against them. Kamala, again, who was the side piece of Willie Brown at the time, applied for the second-in-command job within that office. She got passed over. So she threw a little hissy fit. Willie Brown's like, I'm going to put you in his place. She was in third place in the polls, but he's very, very powerful. And as you know, Democrats are very obedient. They do what they're told. So he got out there, did fundraising, say, this is the chick that's now going to be in charge. And she was. Then she got elected. And then she dropped charges against his friends. Other than one individual that was, when it came to building things like bridges and infrastructure, was knowingly using faulty materials. And despite all of the time he faced in prison, she knocked it down to one environmental violation. So he got off. So you can see this is more. The left would love for that relationship to be simply portrayed as some sort of, side piece of Willie Brown. He paid her back by getting her a job. But amazingly enough, in doing all of this, his friends and donors who were facing prison time got off scot-free once Kamala got in charge. There's two further points I want to make on this. And one is in the next to the last sentence of the piece. And it notes that to say Kamala Harris had an affair with a man more than twice her age, leveraged his fundraising prowess and connections to launch her political career, and once in office did his corrupt bidding is not sexist. Now, this, of course, is in response to what some, including the New York Times, have written that, anytime you bring up how she got her start in politics, that's sexist. And this, of course, is what America is going to be subject to during this election cycle, and God forbid she get elected president, during her reign. And that is, you cannot ask questions. You cannot criticize. You cannot attempt to hold accountable Kamala Harris. She will be queen. And anyone who dares question the queen, who dares point out factual information that might be unflattering for the queen, will be accused of racism, will be accused of being a misogynist. Unfortunately, the Democrats have created a world in which when you elect a Democrat that is a person of color or a woman or an LGBTQ+, they are actually electing someone that you are not allowed to question, that is in no way, shape, or form held accountable to you. Because the answer always is you're a homophobe, you're transphobe, you're misogynistic, you're racist. We went through it through the Obama years. And frankly, I don't care how qualified Kamala Harris might be, which she's not. I don't want a president, whomever that president is, that I am told because of the category that they are in, I'm not allowed to question as a citizen of this country. I don't care who it is. I don't care what political party. I don't care what political persuasion. If you are telling me once this person is in power, you cannot question them because by default, that means you are this, I don't want him in there. That's enough for me. But there's a second rhetorical question I want to throw out there. Are Democrats not capable of finding a woman that they like as a potential president of the United States that did not get her career going or owe it to a man? Seriously. Look at who they've offered up. Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton owes her success to the fact that she married Bill Clinton. If Hillary Clinton had never married Bill Clinton, she would not have been First Lady. She would not have been a U.S. Senator from New York. She would not have gotten the nomination for the presidency. Now, people can all day long say, well, she may have, you don't know. But she didn't, did she? And the humiliation that Democrats required her to go through in order to benefit from marrying the right man. Kamala Harris. Here is another individual that no one would even know this person if it weren't for the fact that she was giving it up to Willie Brown. As a 20-some-year-old sleeping with a married 60-year-old politician who then gets her put into position so that she can drop cases against his fundraisers and people who his donors and his allies. If she had not been the side piece of Willie Brown, no one would even know who Kamala Harris is. Even Michelle Obama, whom so many Democrats just love the idea of and talk about, oh, she could be the great savior. She could come in and be president. If it were not for her marrying Barack Obama, no one would know who Michelle Obama is on a national level. Every time Democrats pick a woman that they believe is worthy of the presidency or, either support while they run for presidency or anoint, as Kamala Harris has done. She didn't even have to run for it. She's just given the gig as the nominee. It's always a woman who did not make it there on her own. It's always a woman who only exists in the capacity that that woman does, politically speaking, because of a man. And it would be nice if Democrats could find just one woman. Just one. Maybe it's part of the reason that they hate Republican women so much, powerful Republican women so much. The Nikki Haley's of the world, the Kristi Noems. I mean, you can go down the list of Sarah Palin's. Whether you like them or not, these are women who did not get their political careers because of the men that they married. And you can't argue against that point. I mean, that's just factual information. And you just wonder if at some point Democrat voters who, in their minds, Republican Party is a party, as Hillary Clinton has said, women that just do what their husbands tell them to do and vote the way that their husbands tell them to vote. Meanwhile, Democrat women are these strong, independent women. Do you ever stop and look at Republican women that have become successful versus Democrat women who have become successful in a political context and just see that consistently for Democrat women, they're there because of the person they married. Republican women, it's not ever that case. Never. In fact, you could, if you are to say, if you were to ask the average person, Hillary Clinton, who's her husband, everyone knows. Michelle Obama, who's her husband, everybody knows. Kamala, the Willie Brown thing is less known. Out in California, they all know. Who was her side, or to whom was she the side piece that got her career? They all know. Who's Nikki Haley's husband? Who's Kristi Noem's husband? You don't even know. It's because they weren't responsible for their wives' careers. And I think that says something. It says something beyond the marketing, but instead it gets to the root of reality. A1 Custom Car Care, having a conversation with Dustin Atwood, who, of course, along with Sarah, co-hosts the show on Saturday mornings here, and some of the other folks from A1. And they said they've noticed what they see as a concerning trend, and that is people who are coming in and they have had some problem with their vehicle, and they got online and bought cheap parts. And then those cheap parts cost even more damage to their vehicle. And the reason that this is disturbing, it's not a shame on you, but they recognize that this trend is because of the economy. And just, though the Biden economy has been harmful to the average person for several years now, people more and more, there used to be this sense when we would hit hard times that, we'll get out of it. But given that Biden and Harris and they're just portraying everything as fine and okay, people are increasingly beginning to recognize that if those people, and now Kamala Harris gets elected president rather, that's not going to change. Things are going to continue to be hard. And so when it may be an $800 fix on a vehicle, they think, well, I can get this part for $200. I got a brother-in-law that can put it in, so forth. And so more and more people are doing that. The problem is it is Russian roulette. And you may end up okay, but you may end up frying other components in your vehicle because of the parts, and then costing yourself even more. So I just recommend, I know that it's hard. I know these times have been made hard and harder by the current administration administration and their economic policies, but you can do yourself more harm than good by trying to go the cheap route. A1 Custom Car Care for all of your car care needs. Oh, someone had noted as I was talking about women who become viewed as presidential material or that are executives in these executive positions. And there is a consistency with women that are Democrats that they got their positions because of men. Kamala Harris, Willie Brown, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. But when it comes to so many of these women, I use Kristi Noem, Nikki Haley as an example. No one can even tell you who their husbands are because they weren't relevant. They noted Tulsi Gabbard as an example, and the fact that here is an independent woman who has run for president. She never got to the position. She ran as a Democrat, didn't get to the position where I think she held out longer than Kamala Harris actually did, but where she was considered to be a likely potential president. But that being said, look what they did to her. They trashed her. Like, we don't want you, you independent woman. How dare, don't you know you were supposed to sleep with a powerful politician to get into politics? Don't you know you're supposed to marry a man and ride his coattails into some sort of political sweetheart? Don't you understand that? And so, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, she got kicked to the curb. There is a piece that Red State has regarding a Democrat who back in 2011, no, wait, this was 2019, an editorial. In a small community newspaper in Northern California, in which the father of one of Kamala Harris's former interns shared 4 episodes from his son's month-long internship in Harris's office when she was California Attorney General. Now, his son, again, this is a Democrat, his son wanted to get in Feinstein's office as an intern. Feinstein didn't have any availabilities, and so instead went to for a month to Kamala Harris's office. And the 4 episodes that Terry McCatier wrote out, and they're very brief, but wrote these up for the editorial several years ago. 4 short episodes I'd like to share for his month-long internship in Kamala Harris's office. Senator Harris vocally throws around F-bombs and other profanity constantly in her berating of staff and others. The staff is in complete fear of her, and she uses her profanity throughout the day. As Attorney General, Senator Harris instructed her entire staff to stand at attention every morning as she entered the office and say, quote, "Good morning, General," end quote. That's not psychotic. He also noted, never once during the month-long internship did Harris even introduce herself to our son, as he was only in an office with 20 paid employees, and staff was too intimidated by Kamala to introduce him to her. The only acknowledgement was a form letter of thanks signed by Harris given to him on his last day of service. Gregory, the son, was also given instructions to never address Harris nor even look her in the eye, as that was a privilege that was allowed only to senior staff members. That looking in the eye thing, that was something Hillary Clinton, in the White House, everyone knew when she was the first lady not to look her in the eye, and actually if she was coming down a hallway, if possible, to duck into a separate room so she didn't have to see any of the lower level staffers, the peons, the peasants, if you will. Apparently, Kamala Harris has many of the same personality traits as Hillary Clinton, at least according to some Democrats. And this is why 90% of her staff have quit, not been fired or turnover because of poor management, but quit because of what they have almost all subsequently noted was her absolute horrific treatment of people, the fact she doesn't know what she's doing, and she blames everyone else for her mistakes. If you do happen to miss any of the show, fear not. We've got the on-demand section, ksgf.com. If you hit Spotify, some of those other locations, you'll find it as well. And, of course, YouTube, our video sponsored by Springfield Wraps. Oh, look at this. Oh, Kamala Harris giving a speech. I'm watching this, and look like a gymnasium, a large-sized gymnasium filled with people. What excitement. What they don't mention is that the very, very popular musician, it's the one that the WAP song, Wet Blank Blank. Who is that? Megan Thee Stallion? Who is that? I, no. So I know it's not Nicki Minaj. Who I have this story here.
Maybe.
Is that who it was?
I think so.
Anyway, so here we go. The story. No, it was Megan Thee Stallion. Anyway, whether she sang that song or not. So Megan Thee Stallion, who's very, very popular, and this is Atlanta, Georgia, performed. And people had posted some video after the performance was done, and Kamala's up there speaking, which, by the way, she unveiled a fake accent. We have audio of that coming up later, because Democrats are just, what is it with these people? Especially the Democrat women. They tend to love to do the fake accent in front of black audiences. And but there was footage of Kamala speaking after the concert was over, and people were leaving, which, of course, is clear that that's how they get people to show up for these rallies. If you notice, Trump does not have to do that. Trump does not have to have some celebrity bring people in. Kamala Harris is like a timeshare where they bring people in with the promise of a weekend stay at Disney World, but you have to sit through a presentation, and that's what occurs at these events. Oh, but here's a celebrity. Now you're gonna have to sit through a presentation afterwards, but but you get to have this incredible concert. You get to enjoy yourself, but just. It's well worth it, and of course they ask people to stay, but some people are like, I'm not going to stay for this crap, and then they leave. So you see these crowds, and of course the media, when they cover the crowd, they talk about, oh, look at these crowds that are showing up. They're not showing up for her. Now, some of them clearly are. They're obviously going to show up for her, but when you have to precede your speech, particularly when you're talking about Atlanta, where you have a massive black population in which hip-hop music is huge, and artists like Megan Thee Stallion are massive and huge, you have to have that person to bring them in. It's artificial. It's completely artificial. But, the media is in full marketing mode as we speak, and you know it. And I think that more and more independent voters know it as well. They see what's going on, though there are a lot of people that are just really paying attention for the first time, and they don't know anything about Kamala. They know she was a border czar because the media crammed that down their throat. They know now they're being told she wasn't. But outside of that, the things that you and I have seen, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when MSNBC had a panel of 5 ultra-left-wing Wisconsin voters. And they were talking about the Democrat Party overturning the election and implementing Kamala Harris, and how they didn't really like that. They didn't feel that was, democracy, which of course it's not. But for all their concerns, they did talk about, I'm excited to learn more about Kamala. We don't really know a lot about her. And I'm thinking to myself, you are left-wing activists who present yourselves as informed, educated individuals, and you don't know enough about Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, of your political persuasion, the first woman, the first of color individual to be Vice President of the United States, and you don't know enough about her? Point being is that even people who are supporters of, generally because they're told to be, Kamala Harris, they are clueless as to what you know. They're vapid in their wealth of knowledge, or lack thereof, compared to you. And a lot of independent voters are also not nearly as informed because, again, many of them, they watch Stephen Colbert and The Daily Show and MSNBC to get their news. And so all they know is what they're being told by the media about Kamala Harris, and that is that she's just absolutely wonderful and sharp and brilliant. And they lie about what her job has been as vice president, though, again, I don't think that's going to work so much because they're the ones who have been telling people that she was border czar. So there is going to be, and there's mixed polls. Frankly, I'm not paying a lot of attention to the polls. You got, a new poll that shows nationally Trump is up. And then you got a poll, Kamala's up in Pennsylvania and so forth. This is still the meet and greet stage for so many Americans that are being polled. And the question is, are they going to be able to pull off the trick long enough to get to November? This makeover they're doing, this facade that they're creating, this illusion that they want you to believe is Kamala Harris. Is there going to be a moment like occurred with Joe Biden where, despite the media covering for him and Kamala covering for him and lying to the American people, once he got on that debate stage, they couldn't lie because people saw it with their own eyes? Now, you had been seeing it for years, but there is a segment of the population that's very significant when it comes to 2-3 point percentage margins, that they go from one direction to the other, and it can be the sign of death for a particular candidate, in that case, Joe Biden. Those moments, will the media be able to prevent those moments from occurring? In other words, will they be able to prevent the American people from seeing with their own eyes who Kamala actually is? That's the great challenge they have between now and November. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. A heat advisory remains in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today it's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 97. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, once again, sunny and hot with a high near 97. Heat index values reaching close to 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92.
I want a great homeloan.com. All of your home loan needs, refinancing needs as well. Even if you are very comfortable with your current financial institution, you like to keep it all in one place, nice and neat. It's where I have my home loan, or it's where I have my, car loan. It's where I always go for this. I've taken out a loan for that and so forth. I like to keep it all in one place. I just recommend that once you find out what is available to you from your standard financial institution, go to iwantagreathomeloan.com and find out what they can do for you as well. And you may end up then deciding, nope, I'm still comfortable where I am. But you may find out that they can get you a more favorable deal, that whether it's the terms, the rates, or helping you find additional options that you did not even know exist. It's one of the things that they're great about, is knowing these little, like, oh, well, so you're this and you've done this and that and so forth. Well, that qualifies you for this. Things that oftentimes financial institutions, they, just a lot of those folks, they wear many, many different hats. There's only one hat that they all wear with the Carricker team, and it's home loans and refinancing. That's the hat, day in, day out. So even if they're not your first go-to, I recommend that you find out what they can do for you as well. That way, I mean, it can't hurt, right? And it doesn't cost you anything. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was assassinated, apparently a strike by the Israelis in his home. Israel has vowed vengeance, of course, because this is what they do. This is an individual that was responsible for the October 7th attack in a large degree. He also apparently had a hand in the barracks attacks, U.S. Marines in Lebanon, Beirut. He was instrumental in that as well, and, quote, wanted for that, though we never really apparently pulled the trigger on it. Israel finally has done so. I believe that there's a very good chance this would not have happened if the United States was not on full display as being completely weak from an executive branch position at this point. Several weeks ago, when Israel began making strikes against enemies outside of the area in which they had up until now confined themselves, it was around the period that they began advancing in that capacity and becoming more proactive that Biden was receiving pressure to drop out. It was post-debate. And I noted at the time that, up until now, the United States was an ally. So a strong United States with a strong executive and a strong, legitimately viewed as a strong president of the United States was beneficial to Israel because we were allies. But under Biden-Harris, we have allied ourselves with Hamas and turned against Israel. So a strong executive has been beneficial to Hamas and been detrimental to Israel. And with the crumbling of any sort of view that we have an executive branch in the United States that's currently being run by anyone that is of any sort of strength or coherence, with that gone, it has allowed Israel to not worry about the United States using its clout, because it doesn't really have any at this point, to support Hamas and to come out against Israel. So it's freed them up. And it's a reflection of the sad state of affairs and the horrific detachment that under Biden-Harris we have had away from Israel, the only free nation in the Middle East, that a weak United States, like a weak Hamas, is beneficial to the Jewish people of Israel. That is a very, very, very sad commentary. But if you're looking for a silver lining in the fact that we are viewed as extremely weak and that any sort of messaging or marketing or verbal allyship coming out of the White House is seen as largely irrelevant. The silver lining is that is now beneficial to Israel, and it allows them to take these steps that they may not have otherwise taken because of fear that Biden or Harris would come out and further embolden Hamas, which, of course, is something that Kamala Harris was criticized, rightfully so, for doing just recently when Netanyahu visited the White House. And she caught Netanyahu off guard by making a swipe about, human atrocities and how Israel needs to, make sure that they aren't killing so many civilians and so forth, which is a propaganda argument made by Hamas. And, this is just one of the many factors that we need to recognize as a reality in this country. I don't know how much more clear it can be made. If Jewish students on college campuses thought that they've dealt with problems with Biden as president, you just wait till Kamala's in there. You ain't seen nothing yet as a Jewish American. As pro-Hamas as Biden has been through his actions, Kamala certainly is much more, it seems like, passionate about it. Biden oftentimes, I believe, is just either didn't know what he was doing or he was taking direction from others. But Kamala is a true believer in the Hamas cause. And she has not shied away from that. Now, she's tried to soften her verbal support for terrorism and Hamas. You know, they always do the lip service. Well, of course, we're against all types of violence. But Hamas has a point, is essentially her position as she runs for president of the United States. So we thought we had a real problem with anti-Semitism in this country, within the Democrat Party and on college campuses and other institutions culturally that are dominated by Democrats. You just wait till Kamala gets in there. I think that people have an inability to comprehend that it can get worse, but it will. Regarding Kamala Harris's embrace of the messaging from Hamas on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, the weird thing is, isn't Doug Emhoff, that's her husband, Jewish? How come reporters are not constantly asking him about these things? Mark Levin has noted that there's a difference between being, Jewish in terms of your nationality versus a deeply held religion, or Jewish as part of your sort of culture. Oh, I was born in Israel, or my parents were Jewish, and so it just got passed down, versus somebody who really truly believes in it. And listen, I mean, the same thing applies when you, let's say, for example, look at Joe Biden. He says he's Catholic. Yet He is pretty much for everything that is in violation of the Catholic Church's beliefs and teachings, up to and including abortion. He utilized the Department of Justice to infiltrate the Catholic Church. The Democrat Party tries to stir up fear and anger against Christians with this whole Christian nationalism thing. And so sometimes we're not that the person asking this question or everybody's a Christian, but we ask that rhetorical question, like, how can Jewish people possibly support this administration? How is it Catholics support Democrats? I mean, it's the same thing. But I think oftentimes because we're too close to that, we don't realize, oh, yeah. And we might recognize that no, I've always thought that didn't make sense. But I don't know, there's just the starkness of seeing people of the Jewish faith that support the Democrat Party somehow. It just seems more stark and more of a contradiction in self-interest than Christians that support Biden and Harris and Democrats, but it is very similar in fashion, of course. Now, it should be noted that oftentimes Democrats use that to their advantage. How dare you question me? So you can have somebody that is like Kamala Harris using the talking points of Hamas, acting as an ambassador for Hamas, everything that Hamas wants. She goes out there, she supports, she uses the false accusations against the Jews that Hamas spread out there. But then if you question whether or not she is maybe just a little too cozy up with terrorists and anti-Semitic. How dare you? My husband's Jewish. So they will use that oftentimes as a shield. So that's something that we should be prepared for. I suspect that in the debates or debate that occurs between Trump and Kamala Harris, if the issue of Israel comes up, and obviously Donald Trump has been seen, rightfully so, based off of not just actions but results, the most pro-Israeli president that we've ever had in the history of Israel. If this issue comes up, and the issue of anti-Semitism being something that is real problematic in the Democrat Party, and Kamala Harris's desire to cozy up with anti-Semites and neo-Nazis, that she could, I suspect she'll very well play that "how dare you, my husband's Jewish" card. That is when his heritage will be useful to her. Pyramid Roofing Company, talk at text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. A heat advisory remains in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today it's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 97. Heat index values reaching close to 109. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, sunny and hot with a high near 97. Heat index values as high as 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92.
Coming up, we've got the primary on Tuesday. We've got sample ballots at KSGF.com. You can check those out. That's sponsored by Brad Pistol and Safe Money Radio. We also have in the election section, so if you go to on the right-hand corner, the three little horizontal lines, click on it, sort of the little menu area, and then elections, you can find audio of the candidates that have come on. All of those are in one area. Now, you'll note, watch the dates on those because those do archive past, like to the spring elections and so forth. So at some point, you're going to be like, wait, what are these people running for? So that is something that you can find there. And then sponsored by Delta Roofing, we are on Tuesday going to do our free-for-all starting at 6:30 in the morning where we just open the phone lines and it is all you. One of the candidates, I know many of you have heard, Lori Rook, as she runs for state treasurer. And I have to tell you, I was visiting a couple of weeks ago. Well, it was around the 4th of July weekend, so a few weeks ago, the other side of the state. And I couldn't believe how many Lori Rook signs I saw over there. And I don't know why that surprised me. I guess because you're local and you're not a career politician. And so I think there is this, I don't know, this sort of default thinking, oh, well, they're out there and they're, I'm sure, doing the best they can. But, I mean, you are really out there, hardcore campaigning as if this is something that you have been doing your whole life, though this is your first crack at it.
Yeah, I believe in it. So,
Well, that's clear.
I don't do anything, mediocre, especially when I'm really passionate about it. So, yeah, I mean, you make a couple interesting points there. I mean, at the beginning of all of this, I was not taken seriously, and people that know me know that that's about the worst thing you can do is tell me no or tell me I can't do something. And so we're not sleeping much right now. We're all over, and I'm being attacked now. So I guess that means I'm maybe
You're over target.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, and I would say when you note that people didn't take you seriously, this is just my observation. It isn't because, oh, well, that's Lori Rook, but because here you are, somebody again that isn't a career politician, and you are running in a primary against an incumbent, which is something that generally people are dismissive of because an appointed incumbent. But people, they tend to think, well, unless it's open, they just don't pay that much attention because oftentimes people who are running for a position that they are already in this case appointed, there's just this sense that is very, very difficult to overcome. But I mean, if ever there is an instance in which that's possible, I would argue, based off of just the way all this is playing out, this is one of those instances in which it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a path for myself at the beginning, and I had others agree with that path. And so, having, if you've heard my story about seeking the appointment a few years ago,
share that again if you would.
Yeah, so I was called in 2022. Some conservatives in my area, that appointment was coming open. They thought I would be a good fit for it, given my background. I'm an estate planning and elder law attorney. I own Ozarks Elder Law. And so I went into it a bit naive, I'll be honest, thinking that it was actually going to be this, formal process, and
legit.
My qualifications would be looked at, and it was anything but that. And during my courtesy interview, as I like to call it, with the governor's office, I was told, no, thanks, you're an outsider. And I actually thought that's why they should appoint me, and I told them that. And so I saw firsthand kind of how this whole game is played, and it disgusted me given what's going on in the state and how much, money we're taking from the federal government. So I told them I was going to run if I didn't like who they appointed. So here we are.
Yeah, and they may be sorry.
We'll see. I mean, I think they're sorry now. We'll see how it plays out, but
now, explain, if you would, for people, and I know you probably you're like, my gosh, I talk about this all the time. People they think state treasurer, and they're like, well, I guess they deal with money. What it is that that position does and why it matters. In other words, what is it that you believe that you will do if you're elected differently than is done now, and why is that important?
So the state treasurer is the chief financial officer for the state of Missouri. They manage the funds. They make sure the money. They're supposed to make sure the money's going where it's allocated for and earmarked for. They are overseeing the investments. They're ensuring that we're getting our best rate of return. And then they sit on a lot of boards and they oversee some programs. So, in terms of what I bring to the table, that's different is I'm not controlled by what I call the narrow group of dysfunctional and corrupt folks that are controlling Jeff City and that are essentially puppeteering our elected or appointed officials that are taking Missouri down the wrong path. I've said it over and over again. I'm not beholden to any of these folks. I'm not funded by special interest or lobbyist groups, and so I come in with a I want to do the right thing mentality. As an attorney, I abide by what's called a fiduciary obligation. I have to do what's in the best interest of my clients, and I think our elected officials should do the same, and we should do what's in the best interest of Missouri. And so we take more money from the federal government. When you look at what some of these governor candidates want to do in terms of reducing, taxes, income taxes, property taxes, it's absolutely feasible when you look at where the money is actually going in the state and some of the ridiculous things that are being put in the budget and the earmarks that are, going on behind closed doors to benefit some lobbyist. And so they'll put money in their PAC. I mean, it's essentially legalized money laundering. So I want to bring to light where this money is actually going. I want to break it down. I want to correlate it to the budget. I want Missourians to actually see this is what's happening, this is where our money's going, and this is how we can do better.
Talking with Lori Rook as she runs for state treasurer. I was telling Sarah during a break that I saw, I don't know how long it's been running, but a TV ad. And the volume wasn't on. It was one of yours, but closed captioning was. And it opened up with something that we make fun of a lot. Like, it's campaign season. Republicans, everyone's the most conservative. They're going to be on a farm. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And so I see, and you're walking along a fence line on a farm. You got a cowboy hat. You got the what are the fringes and everything.
Yeah.
And I thought, and so I thought, here we go. And then the ad is you pretty much saying, I know this is what you're supposed to do, but just so you know, I'm not a cowgirl. I'm not. And I thought how refreshing that is.
Yeah, no, it's a true story. I was actually told that. So I thought, well, we might as well put it out there and I'm running on transparency.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I did. I really liked it. Lori Rook with us. We're going to take a break, and then we'll continue on as she runs for state treasurer again Tuesday coming up. Will be that election. We've got the sample ballots, ksgf.com, and we have a happy hour at Retro Metro Friday 4 to 6, and it's a great opportunity for those of you that maybe you aren't really sure about some of the candidates to come out and just talk amongst ourselves, because oftentimes some people may have some insight that you don't necessarily have, and you may have some to offer to other folks as well. So it'll be the last happy hour before we do have that Tuesday vote at Retro Metro 4 to 6 this Friday. More with Lori Rook in moments. I'm Nick Reed. Lori Rook in studio with us, running for state treasurer. You go around the state, and I know you travel a lot. I'm sure you've seen parts of Missouri you didn't even know existed.
Yeah. It's beautiful, though. I mean, it's really a beautiful state.
A lot of miles. I know that I was at weeks ago. It was the Douglas County event, and you were there as well. And I remember as I was leaving, of course, it was late that night, and I stopped at the little small town gas station, and your husband was in there.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, he's the driver. And you go around and people are asking you the same questions over and over again about why you're running and what the state treasurer does and so forth. But if you don't mind, just a little bit about, I mean, who you are, you're growing up, you're whatever it is that.
Yeah.
Because I think that matters to people.
It does, especially with me, because I am a political outsider. And I think it's fair game. I think people need to know more about me. I don't have a voting record. I can't say I passed this, HB whatever, or Senate bill whatever. So, but, I'm native to Springfield. I grew up in Nixa, born and raised in the area. I live in Springfield with my husband, Ryan, 21 years. We've got 3 kids. I own Ozarks Elder Law. So I've been practicing law for 18 years. And advocating for the elderly and the aging population, I love it. It's very rewarding, and that we're not going away if I win. But I believe with my skill set as being a business owner and an advocate and a fighter, that's what we need in Jeff City. I own the firm, so I see the business side of things. And I'm dealing with what people have built and trying to protect that. And so that protection piece is also really important when we're talking about Missouri. So that's a little bit about me. And, went to Missouri State University, SMS at the time, went to law school in Oklahoma. And yeah.
Where'd you and her husband meet?
Well, we actually did go to high school together, but we didn't really know each other in high school. We didn't start.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was friends with his sister. We didn't start dating till college.
So was he the older brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that stuff happens?
Yeah.
We got Lori Rook with us here in studio as she runs for state treasurer. LoriRook.com is the site, incidentally, if people want any more information on that. Anything else that you want people to think about? I know you're in the final stretch here, just days left as you travel around the state and talk with people throughout the state about an office that people don't necessarily have the same amount of passion for as they do the president or some of these other races, because those are the things that they see, those people doing things in the press conferences and so forth. So what do you want people to know?
When you look at my race, my ticket, I'm the very different candidate on that ticket. I'm set apart for a lot of different reasons. And if you're tired of what's going on in Jeff City, if you're tired of the amount of money that we're taking, from the federal government, that I believe is the root cause of what's destroying our education system and our schools, and the DEI and the CERT and all of these things being shoved down our throat. I'm your candidate because I am not afraid to say no. I'm not afraid to put this information out there and expose it. And I'm not going to be controlled by this narrow group of folks that are essentially destroying our state. I'm not looking for a ladder or notch in my belt. I don't need to do this. And I tell people all the time, we need to elect people that don't need the job, because those are going to be your true people that truly want to serve, and they're not looking for a pay raise. So I would greatly appreciate your vote on August 6th. So this is this coming Tuesday. Lori Rook. I'm number 3 on the ballot, and get out there and vote.
And then one final question. I'm always interested when people who do this for a living, generally speaking, they are planning things out. They've got, this opens, I'm going to go for this, that, and so forth. You're somebody who get approached by people saying, we think you would be great in this position. We'd like for you to do this huge undertaking. For somebody that is in your position, and this isn't your career, I'm always interested in what was that conversation like when you go to your husband, in your case, and like, hey, I had an interesting conversation today. That because I'm sure that for a normal person like you, when somebody first says that, you're like, oh yeah, right. But then you start thinking about it. They give you a compelling case, a compelling argument, and because it is a huge undertaking. And then to talk to a spouse and say, hey, what do you think? I'm just always fascinated about how that works, what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was in car line picking up my daughter when that call came, and it was very, very weird. And I literally, I just set the phone down. I just kind of laughed. I
Right.
just,
Yeah.
it's like this weird out of body experience. So, I actually sat on it for about a day because I needed to
Well, yeah.
process it. And then I went to my husband and I prayed about it. I really think things like that don't just come out of the blue for a
Right.
reason. There's actually and that's one of the reasons I didn't go away and I didn't turn away, was because I felt very called to be somebody that could help with this. But he's on board. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say he was like, yeah, this sounds great, let's
Yeah,
do
this'll
this,
be fun.
this will be super fun, where do I sign up, but there was a point with him where I knew he knew I I was all like I was so convicted by
Right.
it. And he's been nothing but supportive. But yeah, at the beginning it was like, now what are we doing? I don't understand. And so, but we've been together long enough.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You
he's
could
driving me
tell.
around, and we've got 3 kids, and he's been nothing but supportive and helping keep things moving. So
Well, there's a very good chance we'll have you on before November.
yeah,
We shall see. I'm sure either which way you'll be relieved that all of this is over. It's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
if
yeah.
you do it right, and you seem to be doing it right.
Yep. So I'm not going away. Win, lose, or draw. I've seen too much corruptness. I've seen too many bad things, and I'm again that's what I want people to know about me is this is not just I'm going to go do this and
Right.
go away. Like, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to help other candidates. I'm going to do what I can, because it's got to stop. Jeff said that what's going on up there has got to stop.
Lori Rook for State Treasurer. It's LoriRook.com. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, absolutely. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Pyramid Roofing Company talk a text line. Nick, can you explain to me why Trump would endorse all three main candidates for governor? I'm having a hard time deciding which one to vote for. I think that they're all terrible. Please help. Well, if you think they're all terrible, then I don't really know what to tell you. So, okay, why would Trump endorse all three? Now, first off, just so you can take it with a grain of salt, Trump's assertion that Missouri is going to be in fantastic hands, regardless of, like, all three of those candidates will make a fantastic governor. I think he's dead wrong. I think that I think Mike Kehoe, this is just my personal opinion, based off of the things that he has supported, particularly when it comes to tax increases, which recently, incidentally, or I shouldn't say recently, regarding his huge push for the 5 separate tax increases at the pump, and his efforts to try and raise taxes, despite the fact that Missourians 3 times voted against it, is that, well, but he asserts that he has voted or pushed for more tax cuts than tax increases. Well, I don't know about you, but if I am supporting somebody who is of a political party that supposedly is about lower taxes, the argument is that, well, yeah, I support tax increases, but I also sometimes support tax. No, doesn't work. If you notice, Democrats never do that. They're always for higher taxes. They don't then cut taxes and say, well, but I also raised them. So I just, Kehoe to me, total establishment. Missouri is mediocre. And I think that is a sad thing as a state. Mediocrity is the name of the game for the state of Missouri. We don't do anything exceptionally profound. We don't do anything exceptionally brave. This is why we are not on the map like a Florida or a Texas. This is why the country does not know the name of our governor, like they know the name of DeSantis or Abbott, and they knew DeSantis' name before he was running for president, and it was because he was doing profound things, bold things. We do not have that here. The current Republican establishment is mediocre. We are mediocre Missouri. Missouri, mediocre. My personal assessment is that if you are looking for something that is not going to be more of the same for governor, then I think that reasonable people who want to move further towards more bold action, then reasonable people could say Ashcroft and reasonable people could say Eigel. In other words, I don't think that, and there's going to be disagreement over that, but I think that you can have truly conservative individuals that, some say no, Ashcroft, some say Eigel. That's my belief in that. But Trump saying that all three of those would be, I think he's absolutely wrong when it comes to the Kehoe component. Now, why would he do that? Trump likes to sometimes make a difference, but I think sometimes also he likes to rack up the score, and you do that by playing a safe bet, being out there and saying, well, any of these guys would be good, and so sort of it racks up the scorecard a bit, if you will. And you do see that, like 80% of his endorsements win. Well, sometimes it's a given. And so I don't know that that's why he endorsed all three of those, but it could very well be the reason behind it. We got news in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Kamala Harris is expected to be the lone Democratic presidential candidate to throw her hat in the ring. Well, yeah, because they're doing it before the convention actually starts. That's the whole point. They are going to start doing a virtual roll call that will take place. What are the dates here? I thought that was coming Tuesday. Let's see. Officially clear the. I think it's coming up in the next week or so, over a period of so many days. I thought it mentioned on here. There must have been a different story. Anyhow, point being. You think it's this? I think it's over a few days, maybe. But the whole point here is to prevent anyone else from being able to challenge her. So instead of doing it at and that's the whole point of the convention in the context of the presidential nominee. That's the whole point. That's why everybody gets together. Now, of course, it is turned into an event of cheerleading, and for the most part, and this is an exception because they've overthrown the election, it's already a predetermined outcome. You already know because you've gone through the process. Trump, for example, or last time around Biden, he had enough delegates, and so you get there, and all they're doing is they're officially casting those votes. But when that doesn't occur, and there isn't any particular candidate that has enough votes, and it's rare, but it does occur, because they didn't win enough contests, enough elections leading up to that, then that getting together at the convention is when all of that occurs. It's when the lobbying and the deal making and and just the campaigning. The delegates that end up, the way that it works, let's say that you have no one person that has enough delegates after all of the 50 states have their elections, then everyone votes. And then if no one got a majority of the delegates, then the bottom person drops off. They release their delegates. Sometimes they encourage their delegates to vote for this person or that person. And then those delegates, the second round of votes, vote for someone else. And if no one gets a majority after that, then the bottom person again drops off. And that continues until the person or a person gets 50 plus 1% of the delegates. Barring the election in all 50 states, already tying delegates to a candidate to the degree that they have a majority of the delegates going into the convention, the point of the convention is to do that voting. Well, this is the situation that the Democrats have put the Democrat Party in because they've overthrown the Biden election. Every one of the states in which they got Democrats to get out there to donate money, to put up signs, to campaign, to vote for Biden, every one of those states in which they succeeded, now that they've overthrown it. But instead of then doing what is supposed to be done, and that is, okay, this is what we have the convention for. We do not have a candidate in the running that has a majority of delegates assigned to them. They're just saying, no, we're just gonna do a quick little Zoom call before the convention and just go ahead and take care of this thing and have everyone vote for Kamala. Now, what they're saying is, well, anyone else, they're free to also throw their hat in the ring. But if you're not physically there at the convention where you can hobnob with people, where you can meet with people, you can get to, then you can't do it. So they aren't happy enough rigging the Democrat election the first time. They're rigging it a second time as well. It's amazing to me, Democrat voters that will run around and they really have themselves convinced democracy's at stake with Trump while they're in the middle of their elections being overturned and being told we're electing this person for you. And they're perfectly fine with that. Because, you know, democracy's at stake. See, we have to destroy democracy to save it. We have to ignore democracy to save it. We have to overturn our own elections in order to save the country. We have to have our party pick for us the winning candidate in which we don't even get a vote in order to save democracy. That is a demonstration how the left changes definitions in order to fit what leads to, in their assessment, the ultimate goal of them having power. Call it what you want. They will do everything that is the antithesis of democracy in the name of democracy if they believe chanting in the name of democracy is going to help them retain power or steal it away. Look at the weather in a moment at KSGF.com. Incidentally, you can, at this time, get yourself registered to win tickets to see Nikki Glazer, comedian, at Juanita K. She will be there Friday, August 16th, part of the Alive and Unwell tour. And you can also get signed up for a pizza night at Godfather's Pizza, 4 area locations. They do delivery. We got Nixa, Battlefield, Ozark, and Springfield. The owner is a fantastic guy. Some of the best pizza you're going to find. And many of them have buffets during different periods of time, but delivery, something that is important to remember as well. So get yourself signed up. They have separate rooms, incidentally, at their locations. That is great if you're looking to have any sort of meeting. You need a meeting place, whether it's, 8 people or 30 people, depending on the venue, whichever one of the Godfather locations. So it's a fantastic place for your church group, your political group, whatever group it is. If you're looking for a place to meet and eat, keep in mind Godfather's Pizza.
And the first alert forecast from Color 10 Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair the Ozarks Home Improvements. A heat advisory remains in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today it's going to be sunny and hot with a high near 97, heat index values reaching 109. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, sunny with a high near 97, heat index values reaching as high as 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92.
That Kehoe ad there. I don't know if you know this or not, but your congressman has endorsed Mike Kehoe. Tax Hike
Yes,
Mike.
I know
Yeah.
that.
Congressman Mark Alford
Yep,
is
he
endorsing
announced
Tax
it.
Hike Mike
He announced
for
it
governor.
over the weekend.
Yeah. So lucky you.
Mm-hmm.
You got
Yep.
a tax hike supporting member of
Love
Congress.
that for my district.
I wonder if he's supportive of left-wing Lincoln Huff, too.
Oh, sure.
He'll come out with that endorsement. I didn't even realize until you had mentioned it the other day that you were stuck in his district.
Yeah, we're just kind of lumped in there. And I think that he also represents the Kansas City area, so he's got kind of a big area.
Yeah.
A lot of diversity.
Kamala at an event. Now, there was, oh gosh, had all these people show up. Well, she had to throw a concert before she spoke in order to get people to show up. This is Atlanta. Megan Thee Stallion, who's huge in the urban music world, gave a performance, did some twerking, because what doesn't say presidential, like having, scantily dressed, twerking at an event. I mean, yeah. I mean, come on. And J.D. Vance is weird. I guess what do we do? Let's see. All right, we're gonna really, get our voters. What really resonates with our voters? What is it? Republicans, they have all that border security stuff and wanting lower gas prices. Can we get some chicks to twerk? I think that's what we need. This is what we need. And, of course, it's that time of year when Democrats love to break out the fake accents. We're going to do it again in 2024. I'm surprised she didn't do 2 snaps up and a roundabout. Girlfriend. Like, take off her earrings. I'm ready for that debate. No shame. I don't know that there is any example anywhere of a Republican pandering like that. And I'm not saying that there isn't pandering going on. I mean, you're going to get that, regardless of political affiliation. Not everyone does it. But it's the pandering that Democrats do is based off of like the lowest, reducing black people to stereotypes. That's what it is. And for a society and a political party that portrays itself as being anti-stereotype and attacking political opposition for stereotype, how dare you stereotype, don't stereotype, that's how they relate. They find the stereotype that reduces people down to like the bare minimum, and that's what they go with. Whether it's Hillary Clinton, well, I keep hot sauce in my purse all the time. I'm just like you. At least Joe Biden, flat out said, I don't even see you or think of you as black unless you support me. But these fake accents. And what's funny is that you get oftentimes people of color, Obama did it, who do it. And of course, Hillary Clinton has done it. I don't know that Joe Biden has ever tried the accent.
He hasn't done the accent, but do you remember whenever he did that weird video where he sat down with a black family and he brought fried chicken? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's
so
yeah,
no weird accent, but
Yeah, that qualifies for the pandering down to the absolute worst stereotype that you can come up with. Yeah, I had forgotten about that. Now, he did talk about accents and claim that you can't go into a gas or own a gas station without having an Indian accent. And then he brings fried chicken he's like, who are these people? Well, they're black. Okay, well, let's swing by and get some fried chicken. I think they'll really like that. So maybe he's tried the accent and he just couldn't nail it. It just didn't work. Some people are very, very bad at that sort of thing. And so, just, we'll do the fried chicken thing. And then how about this? I just tell people that they aren't actually black. I, as a white man, a rich white man, old rich white man, I will tell black people who is black and who isn't black based off of my assessment. And can we just cut straight to the chase and go that route? And then he went that route. And it didn't hurt him. I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if I understand that category of voters. because the pandering in a fashion that plays off of the worst stereotypes, they do it proudly, and they get supported for it. So, hey, keep it up, I suppose. Kamala Harris, she also talked after the rally about confiscating guns, Second Amendment, gone, that she loves the idea of, just taking people's guns, a buyback program, which is a hilarious joke. This is based off the idea, if you aren't familiar with the buyback program, this is where the government uses your tax dollars to buy guns from people to get them off the streets. And the thinking here is that criminals who use guns in order to rob people, to rape people, to murder people are going to not only use the opportunity to get $100 for a gun, but then they are no longer going to commit crime. That they will no longer seek out. They have no other firearms. If they don't have any other firearms, or and they want some, they'll be like, oh, you know what? No, I've changed my ways. That's the absurd thinking, but that's not political, by the way. Can we just stop and observe that as an opportunity to recognize how little thinking oftentimes as a society and a culture we put into things that we consistently do and then pat ourselves on the back as if we're doing something good. Oh, a gun buyback. Oh, that's so wonderful. Do you know what absurd line of thinking you have to subscribe to in order to believe that that actually is a good thing that happens? You have to believe that people who use guns to murder, because that's the whole point ultimately, right? I mean, theoretically, we're told anyhow, we don't have problems with law-abiding citizens having firearms responsibly. But so what you have to believe is that the whole point of this is to stop gun violence, to stop people from illegally murdering other people with guns, holding them at gunpoint to rape them or to rob them like George Floyd did to that pregnant woman. That's what the gun buybacks are supposed to be. So you have to believe that those people are going to participate in the gun buyback program and then change their way of life completely. Turn away from crime, give up any other firearms that they may have, and never, ever, ever try to acquire a firearm in order to continue their life of crime. Do you know how absurd it is to believe that? But that's what the entire buyback program is based on, that absurd belief. To some degree, one can understand how it is that people become progressive or liberal or Democrat, because it's just so much easier. You suspend belief of reality. You don't worry about whether things work or not. Just, does it look like it? Can we pretend as if this is doing something and you do it? Oh, look how wonderful oh, look at me, I'm solving the world's problems. What a blissful world that must be. It's like these people who craft imaginary lives because they want to escape their reality. And so their reality is either harsh or horrible, or it's just one that they're very unhappy with. And so their minds create a fantasy world so that they can escape reality. That's how liberals operate when it comes to these causes. I'm going to buy an electric vehicle because, I'm saving the planet. Oh, forget the slave labor and the fact that environmentally speaking, they are either as or even more damaging than gas-powered vehicles are. Not to mention the fact that it makes us even more reliant on China and foreign countries than gas-powered vehicles. So everything that they claim that they're actually doing, the opposite happens. But boy, it sure allows them to feel good. Buyback programs. Of course, Kamala would think that's a wonderful idea. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company. The extreme heat, it can be just as damaging to your roof as the wind and the rain. Now, the heat can actually cause cracking on old shingles, and it can actually lift up the edges, and that allows for moisture to get underneath. Now, if you have an older roof and you just want to get an idea of the current condition of your roof, I highly recommend Josh and his team over at the Pyramid Roofing Company. Now, the Pyramid team, they make that roofing process just as simple as possible. They do free roof inspections. They don't make you sign anything up front, and they are going to be honest about the work that needs to be done. So whether you need a whole new roof or just a simple roof repair, or like I said, it's time to go ahead and get an idea of the current condition of your roof, the Pyramid Roofing Company, they are going to get you all taken care of. You can schedule that free roof inspection today. Just give Josh and his team a call. You can find all of that contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com.
Coming up, Retro Metro Friday 4 to 6 happy hour, the last happy hour before the upcoming primary election. Great opportunity to get together, hash things out, ask questions if you have them. It is come and go as you please. And, of course, if you're a candidate, you are more than welcome to join. In fact, we ask that you do join and chat with those of us that are going to be there. It'd be a great opportunity to do some informal Q&A. Coming up, some audio. Yesterday, the acting director of the Secret Service questioned about what they know and what they've learned and where directionally things are headed in terms of the investigation of the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. The FBI, they did incidentally recently acknowledge that, yes, he was shot. This despite Christopher Wray's testimony that fed into the conspiracy theories that maybe he wasn't actually shot. That's a fantastic thing for the director of the FBI to do, but the FBI had to clean up his mess and say, yes, of course, he was actually shot. Senator Cruz and Josh Hawley making some headlines because of the heated exchanges they had with the current director of the Secret Service. That audio next. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, your first alert forecast from Colorton, Fox 49 meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by Wolfpack Cleaners, your residential and commercial cleaning professionals. A heat advisory remains in effect for the entire listening area until Thursday. Today, sunny with a high near 97, heat index values reaching 109. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 76. For your Thursday, sunny with a high near 97, heat index values around 107. And on Friday, sunny with a high near 92.
All right. I was talking about the pandering that the Democrats do regarding, generally speaking, black people and how they reduce them down to stereotypes that we're told are racist stereotypes. That being Joe Biden bringing fried chicken to a black family, Hillary Clinton talking about hot sauce being kept in her purse, and then the fake accents that they use, mimicking sort of like a version of blackface, but black voice. And I noted that form of pandering you don't see Republicans do. And many of you noticed that there is and I said you get the pandering across the board, but you noted the sort of pandering that we mock all the time, and that is the every campaign ad, a fifth-generation farmer, and they're wearing a hard hat, talking to and it's the same thing over and over again. The funny thing is, though, those are stereotypes that are not considered negative, right? I don't know anyone that says, how dare you stereotype me as a farmer by being in a field, or how dare you stereotype me as a factory worker wearing a hard hat. But what the Democrats do is they stereotype black people, not in terms of career paths or generational occupations, but the food they eat and the way they talk, which I don't know. Maybe they're okay with that. I think it's reflective of the difference, generally speaking, in the way that generally people on the left view individuals versus people on the right, where people on the right see people as, their thoughts, their culture, their way of life, and they may pander to that, but it gives you insight as to how they view people as opposed to Democrats and how they view people. I mean, listen to the conversations that they have had in the past regarding illegal immigration. What has one of the big attacks been against enforcing immigration laws? Well, who's going to clean the toilets? There have been numerous on The View, they've said this. There have been elected officials that are Democrats that have said, well, who's going to pick your vegetables? I mean, that's the limited view, these stereotypes that they see of these people. And I would argue it's because they don't really know any of them, other than they may know people of color, but that are part of the elite system, like the Obamas. But they don't know any real people, the average people of color out there. And that's why when they pander, their pandering is reduced to such stereotypical things that aren't really meaningful. They're just almost insulting.
Kamala's last pandering attempt, whenever she went on, I think it was a radio program right before she announced her first run for presidency, she said something along the lines of, oh yeah, I used to smoke marijuana in my college dorm, and I'd listen to Tupac or Snoop Dogg, or do you remember that?
I think I don't know if they were the same interview. It may have been the same interview, but yeah. Well, two things. One, I think she was asked, "What did you listen to in college?" And she named off her favorite artist, which didn't even have
an album out
at that time. So she was lying once again, pandering. What do black people like to listen to? Oh, this is what I'll tell them. But the marijuana thing, that one, her father wrote, I believe it was an editorial, scathing, just ripping her as putting a negative stereotype on, because she talked about being Jamaican. Half Jamaican. Mm-hmm. She's not African American. Her father's from Jamaica. Her mother's from India, her grandmother's from India. Her mother is Indian, and so she's not African American. Democrats try to sort of masquerade her at that for political purposes. But she was talking about, being Jamaican, and laughed about smoking marijuana. Her father wrote a scathing, I think it was an op-ed piece, ripping her for that, for stereotyping Jamaicans in the worst light possible. But she's a Democrat, so she's allowed to stereotype people of color based off of negative stereotypes, and she's praised for it. But the other aspect of that bothered so many people was the one area in which she really went after black men that was for marijuana usage and threw them in prison for it. So here she was laughing about committing a crime that she was responsible for putting men in prison for, black men specifically. I note that is not so much of a race issue for her, but that is the dual justice system that the left has. The dual justice system isn't simply for the left about imprisoning and attacking political opposition. It's anyone that they want to at any given time for whatever reason they want. It just doesn't apply to them. That the dual justice system is we can do what we want, and then we also get to choose whom it is that we apply the law to and who we don't. I mean, that's how it works. And so the fact that she so openly and comfortably laughed about breaking a law that she was responsible for putting people in prison for demonstrates how comfortable people like her are with the totalitarian rule of we get to do what we want, the rules are meant to be applied against you when we decide that they will be applied against you. Let's play some audio. Yesterday, acting Secret Service director questioned regarding the latest developments, what they know, who's being held responsible, as most of the information that has been made available to elected officials and to the public is information that is posted online from people that were there or from whistleblowers. Two exchanges with two U.S. senators are what is getting the most attention since the hearings took place yesterday. And I'm going to play, we'll start with Ted Cruz. Our very own Senator Josh Hawley was one of the others, and it is what he does absolute best. I think that is the best purpose he serves in the Senate, and that is questioning people, particularly those who are being evasive. But we'll start with Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz was trying to get some answer as to whether or not it was true that Donald Trump was not being given the same level of protection as other people, particularly the First Lady. This is based off of whistleblowers and individuals who have said that, of course, they were denied additional Secret Service protection, something the Secret Service initially said wasn't true, but then the spokesperson days later had to come out and say, actually, it was true. We have been denying additional requested Secret Service protection that was requested by the Secret Service members that are on him, his detail. They were the ones making the request, and they continued to get denied. And so Cruz was trying to find out if there's truth to the discrepancy in what Trump was getting versus what they were approving for other individuals.
Is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent for President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the President or the First Lady?
Senator, the travels with a full shift, just like the President.
So the exact same size? Is that your testimony that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only...
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding. That's what you asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference?
The difference?
2X, 3X, 5X,
National
10X?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike.
I'm not asking.
Other assets.
How many more
travel
agents?
With the president that the former president will
you are
not
refusing
get.
To
but
answer
the number of Secret Service agents protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You
Senator.
are refusing to answer clear and direct questions. I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2X? Is it 3X? Is it 5X? Is it 10X?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
All right. So that was a long and exhausting way to get to the eventual answer of, okay, I'll get those numbers for you. We're going to take a very quick break, 60 seconds, and then when we return, Ted Cruz asking, what's the process here? How is it determined? And then Josh Hawley's questioning as well of the acting Secret Service director before that Senate committee yesterday. I'm Nick Reed. Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rao testifying before the Senate, Rowe, R-O-W-E, for the Senate Judiciary and Senate Homeland Security Committee yesterday. It was a joint hearing, so you had more than usual in terms of senators asking questions. Two of the exchanges that are getting the most attention are with Senator Hawley, of course, of Missouri, and Senator Ted Cruz. Cruz also asking the acting director to, he's trying to ascertain information on how are these decisions made. I mean, who makes these decisions? Like when it comes to Trump, okay, letting Trump stay on stage despite the fact that we can't find somebody that may be a gunman, how does all of this decision making work?
Those requests, did you make that decision?
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the Washington Post?
Yes.
So the process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay, so there's a bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy, Senator.
Give me the person that's a decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an absolute yay or nay.
So let me tell you what I believe. I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics. Did the same person who denied the request for additional security to President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not answering my question. But you know what? Leadership appointed by the president, leadership appointed by the president is political. I have a simple question, yes or no. Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
Bipartisan process.
It's a bicameral, bipartisan process. What
for a candidate?
You are not a Congress. You don't have a cameral.
Mr. Kennedy submitted a request that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing to answer the question.
All right, so Cruz alluding to the fact or suggesting that politics went into play here. You got the acting director of the Secret Service saying, no, that's not the case, it's the process. So Cruz is asking, all right, well, who's responsible? Explain this to me. So, well, this department, that department. And Cruz notes, okay, so bureaucracy is like, it's not bureaucracy, it's the process. There is a number of potential explanations here, none of which are good. At worst, Senator Cruz's suggestion that potentially politics at play here, you cannot deny that that's possible. Doesn't mean that it's true. Look at everything in every way that Trump has been targeted by different divisions of the government. The FBI itself, knowing prior to Trump even getting elected president, prior to anyone knowing about Russian collusion as a hoax, knowing that the Hillary Clinton campaign had paid for somebody to make up this fake dossier and that was going to be used in order to falsely claim that Russia was interfering in our elections, they all knew it. We know this because of James Comey's own testimony, his own handwritten notes in that meeting. Yet they went along with it in order to try to destroy Trump. They had one of their own falsify exculpatory evidence to make it look as if someone from Trump's campaign was working on behalf of Russia. Carter Page, he was working on behalf of the CIA. That's what the evidence noted, on behalf of the CIA, working for his country. The FBI altered the memo or the email or whatever to say that he wasn't working on behalf of the CIA. That's how they were able to first start spying on the Trump campaign. You know, and that's just a couple of examples. So when you recognize, whether it's through the FBI or prosecutors across the country, the Justice Department, the ways that they have attempted to get Trump, you cannot claim that it's insane to believe that the Secret Service also is yet another division of our government that has attempted to get Trump. And that doesn't necessarily mean conspiring with someone to assassinate Trump, but deliberately doing such a bad job that it makes it easier for somebody, in case they would try to assassinate Trump, to be successful at it. The best case scenario, which is the scenario that the acting director of the CIA is arguing here, is that it's a process issue. That was the and he can't even explain, as it seems in this testimony here, how the process works. Now, he doesn't necessarily describe that as part of a problem. He describes that, well, that's how it works. But that is part of the problem. If best case scenario, no one can even explain who's responsible for the huge failure that allowed for somebody to take a shot at the president and kill an innocent civilian. If we have, and it's government, I mean, this is typical government, so this doesn't surprise me at all, where they can't even explain how it happened, why it happened, who's responsible, that's a problem. Anytime you have a government entity in which nobody can be held responsible for such an egregious failure because nobody knows who's responsible, that is a massive problem, and that needs to be changed. Josh Hawley's questioning next. I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty, just earlier this year, Liz saying that Emily was amazing to work with. As a first-time homebuyer trying to navigate a complex and fast-paced market, she did a wonderful job in helping us find the perfect home and stay positive, even in a very competitive seller's market. She was professional, knowledgeable, didn't pressure us to look at houses that would not work or go over our budget. We absolutely plan on working with her again if we ever need a realtor. Cannot recommend her enough. If you want somebody that is working on behalf of you, not on behalf of their commission, then you want Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Josh Hawley questioning yesterday during the Senate committee hearing in which the acting director of the Secret Service was answering questions.
The person who is in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the decision-making process was?
To investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot,
a lot of people didn't do their
cannot
jobs.
put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the scale?
You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days, just like you have.
Somebody.
I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly persecuted?
Fairly, sir.
All right, so now I really wish that I had more time in the show to talk about this. Josh Hawley's doing what he does best, and his biggest benefit, or that we benefit from, is the grilling. Now, that being said, his anger and frustration at this, I think most of us fully support, and having to constantly deal with people in this administration that are evasive, I fully appreciate. But I worry a little bit about just fire someone. And I don't think that he necessarily meant that literally, because what I fear is that there are much, much larger and complicated problems here that, you just fire someone and then, everything's good, we took care of the problem. And that oftentimes is the tact that is taken, or the tactic that's taken by the people who are covering up for the problem, is you just make some sacrificial lamb and you just fire someone. I know that's not what Josh Hawley is wanting to occur here, But I would just encourage people, when they hear that it's not that simple. It's not just about, just fire someone. Somebody did something wrong, because that doesn't get to the root of what is clearly a much, much deeper problem than just one individual screwing something up. I think that definitely we're dealing with something institutional here.